So years ago, when my dad was authorized service for Lamborghini, he actually got the call from basically Jacksonville, which was, if you don't know Lamborghini history, Jacksonville became the distributorship. It was Lamborghini USA, and it was based in Jacksonville, Florida. It was this beautiful, elaborate building, and they were distributor for all of the Americas for Lamborghini. If you know your Vector history, it was also the place where they actually, I think, finished or built the Vectors after they kicked out Jerry Weigart, but that's a whole nother story for another time. But my father actually would get calls from Lamborghini sometimes to help support with cars. And one of the calls they received was actually to help support one of the Diablos that Donald Trump had on loan. Now, a lot of people believe or know about the famous Diablo Roadster. But there was actually a few Diablo Roadsters that Donald Trump had at any given point, and that was because the president of Lamborghini USA entered into an agreement with Donald Trump to help him market the Diablos. And if you think, Trump at the time, before becoming president, was sort of known in the social scenes and, sort of the luxury world as this very successful entrepreneur. I think it was probably a great way for Lamborghini to brand with maybe an older demographic, a more conservative demographic, and have Donald Trump representing their brand. So if you look at old photos, Trump actually had, at one point on loan, a dark metallic greenish blue VT coupe. Later, at one point, he had a purple Roadster, which we'll talk about in a second. And then at one point, he also had a blue Le Mans, this bright blue color Diablo Roadster that was also a later car. So it was a 98 car. I don't know exactly sort of if he had anything else after that, but the interesting part of this is that the first two cars we know were on loan, and the VT Coupe was actually on loan for many years. And it actually had the plate, I think it was like LUSA for Lamborghini USA, which was actually the distributor's plate. And the funny part of the story is that Trump actually never owned the first two cars. Now, I don't know the total details of this next part of the story, but apparently when the distributor was basically shut down, it was changed. It was later changed to sort of Vic Colunion, but during that segue period, Lamborghini actually kept requesting Trump to bring back the Diablo, and they kept requesting the Diablo, but Trump refused to bring the Diablo back. Now, no one no one we could interview today could tell you all the details of the story, but I had the pleasure of sitting down with one of the former directors of the Diablo SVR program. He was based in Boca Raton, Florida. And at some point in 1997, he actually got a call from someone at Lamborghini Corporate saying, hey, do you mind if you can go meet with Donald Trump in person and try to get back our Diablo? We don't really know the status of it. We don't even know the agreement that was entered into from Lamborghini USA and Donald Trump. So he basically reaches out to Donald Trump to try to go, pick up this car or something like that. And Trump basically invited him to his New York office. So this gentleman had to fly to New York and basically goes into Trump's office. And, Trump starts the conversation by saying, I'm very successful and I've done this and I've done that. And, it's an honor that I have this car, and Lamborghini needs to understand that. So what this gentleman finds out, that the cars were actually on loan from Lamborghini USA in lieu of a sponsorship payment, like some sort of a payment. Now, Trump felt like he was actually owed some money because of his branding and because he had it at certain events, and it was, he was famously photographed with the cars and he'd been using the cars. So there was actually a disagreement based on this agreement, and Trump felt that the agreement was not fully settled yet. So we don't know the end of the story, but this gentleman who led the Diablo SVR program actually had to leave the office and basically called Lamborghini Corporate and said, he's not giving the car back. You're going to have to figure out a deal where he can buy another car or purchase, what I believe is the 1998 Diablo Roadster, purchase this car or have some sort of a discount. So I believe the first two Roadsters were actually distributor cars that were on loan, and I believe Trump later negotiated a deal to purchase the 1998 Diablo Roadster. And basically these Diablo Roadsters, or Diablo VT Coupe and two Roadsters, always stayed on display at Mar-A-Lago. So that was a big part of the agreement, that he had said, having a car on display at Mar-A-Lago. And I actually remember as a kid going to a few events and different things at Mar-a-Lago, you'd see this Roadster out front. I saw the purple Roadster a few times, which was pretty cool. And you'd see these cars on display, and they were basically home to Palm Beach. So I'm pretty sure if you go back into factory records, there's probably like 4 or 5 Viola SE30, the iconic purple metallic Lambo 30 Diablo Roadsters ever produced. We know there were 2 99 cars and 3 or 4 97 cars. Now, the 97 cars, there was, I believe, 1 or 2 with gray interior. This car specifically had gray interior. If you watch the movie Pain and Gain, you know that I believe it's actually the same car that was in Pain and Gain or similar car that was in Pain and Gain. So very rare car. You can actually tell by the 17-inch wheels. If you go back to some old photos, that would have been one of the 97 cars. But nonetheless, very rare car. Probably one of 5 or 6 that were ever produced in the color. You know, if you go back through history, a lot of celebrities owned Lamborghinis. So, you know, you can start to say, you know, a ton of different names, whether it was Shah of Iran or, Gaddafi, all these crazy figures throughout time, and people like Frank Sinatra as well. And I do believe they bring some sort of a premium. The question is what? I think it depends what someone is willing to pay for it at any given point, and if they're a big fan. I think a car like the Eddie Van Halen Mura has a big premium because Eddie used it for almost 20, 30 years every day while he was writing music, and he used it in the song Panama, so that car is super special. There's a ton of photos of him with the car as well, so I think it adds to it. Donald Trump famously used these Diablo, in period when they were new. So I think that definitely adds a value to it. I believe recently the Ferraris that Trump owns sold for like a 10 or 20% premium. So I believe you could probably put the same premium today. And then there's lesser sort of, a Nicolas Cage car. Nicolas Cage owned a ton of Lamborghinis throughout history, some very famous Lamborghinis. And I think there's a small premium to be added to those cars. I think as time goes on, I think the premium probably should get larger. When you think of Lamborghinis, they didn't have racing history, so they do have this history of celebrity status or unique color, and I think that's what collectors are looking for today with unique Lamborghinis and their history.
For a limited time, Glossett's best ever DIY ceramic coating deal is back. Last year, too many of you ordered it and it broke his site for a little while. But now, just the first 2,000 of you can get Glossett's $150 bottle of graphene ceramic coating for just $69.99, and you get a free $50 bottle of their ceramic detail spray, which makes the application a breeze. So click right now at the link in the description below to get yours.